Good morning. So today I want to talk to you guys about finding good sources. When we went down to the Media Center on Tuesday, Miss Kelly helped you guys learn how to use the Alpharetta High School database. She uses Mac and VIA. And so I wanted to just review this with you, especially if you were absent and or if you were not paying attention. So if you go to Miss Kelly's website, if you just Google AHS Media Center, it'll pop right up. And this is what her website looks like. Okay, on the very top, if you click on Resources, Databases, then this screen appears. Mac and VIA is a platform that hosts lots of different databases for fiction, nonfiction, really anything you could possibly need. And through Alpharetta High School, it is free. When you go to college, your college or university will also have these kinds of platforms for you to do research. For the senior research project, the SRP, you are not using Google. Google's a fantastic resource for informal research. I probably Google things 10 times a day, but for academic formal research like we're going to do and like you'll be required to do if you go to a four-year university, Google's not going to cut it. So we're going to be using these databases. When you click on Mac and VIA on Miss Kelly's Media Center website, it'll shoot you over to the Launchpad, or I think they're calling it Class Link now. And so it's the really colorful one. My screen probably looks different than yours, but click on the really colorful one. It might be in a folder called e-library for some of y'all. But find Mac and VIA, it's the really colorful tab. When you click on Mac and VIA, as Miss Kelly showed you in the Media Center, Gale will probably be most of y'all's best bet. So there are several titles underneath Gale. I think she said that you guys use Galileo in middle school. I'm not familiar with that, but you're of course welcome to use that as well. If you can't find anything good in Gale, it depends on what you're researching. Maybe there's not as many resources. On the left-hand column circled on your screen, there is a link that says databases, and that will take you to all the other databases that we offer. These are some of the Gale resources. Global Issues in Context is really good. JSTOR is fantastic if we have it. I know we don't always have that resource every year. Opposing Viewpoints in Context will probably be many of y'all's best bet, especially when you're looking for that fifth source that should be the other people's opinion about your topic. So again, as an example, my future field was education. There's dozens of controversial issues within my field. The one that irritates me the most would be teacher pay or teacher salary. And so remember, 4 of my resources are going to argue for my point, what I want to argue about that issue, which is teachers should be paid more. So 4 sources will back up my argument, teachers should be paid more. One of the 5 required sources for this project will look at the opposing viewpoint. And so this is a really great, Opposing Viewpoints in Context is a really great database for that. This is JSTOR. If we do still have JSTOR this year, it has some fantastic resources on here as well. So you'll want to play around with this database. Maybe all the resources Miss Kelly told you about aren't working for you. Maybe you found a few, but you haven't been able to find all 5. That's fine. That happens. It depends on the topic, the controversial issue that you've picked within your field. So you can Google ERIC database, and this is the screen that popped up when I Googled ERIC database. There's the link up top if you'd like to use that. So if I were doing the topic of teacher pay, I'm going to strongly suggest that you check off these 2 boxes. If you don't check off full text, then you could just get a summary. You don't want a summary because you want some actual concrete data that you can use for your research. So click full text, and that way you're only looking at texts that are the entire document. Peer reviewed means that it's not some weirdo writing out of his basement who was able to get their research on ERIC. That means it's been reviewed by another scholarly person. So a professor, a doctoral student, someone has checked over the work and given it the thumbs up, saying that it's not full of fallacies, it's accurate, and it's legitimate. So for me personally, I always check off these two boxes because I only want to be looking at viable options. The other database that you can Google, it's on in your senior research project packet that I handed out to you guys on Tuesday, is EBSCOhost. So you can try that as well. That one is free. You can Google it, and you might be able to find some good information on there. Okay, going back to ERIC, this is what happens when I typed teacher pay, peer review only, full text available. Look at all these options. Holy Moses. I could narrow it down using some of these descriptors on the left. You probably want to find more reliable current research. Like, I wasn't teaching in 1999, so I was still in school in 1999. So that might not be the most helpful. So you probably want to go with the more current options, 2018, 2017. And it depends on your topic. Some stuff will be outdated depending on the research that you are wanting to do. Over here we have download full text, then the entire document will pop up for you. So say I go with this option, teacher merit pay, is it a good idea? Okay, here's a summary, but it's not going to be enough. A lot of you guys will think that you can just use the summary for your research. I'll probably be able to tell, and if you do it in college, they'll be able to tell, because I used to do it in college, so I'm telling you it's not the best option. Click on the actual full text and you'll want to skim that. We talked in class briefly earlier this year about works cited and plagiarism and all that fun stuff. So the nice thing about ERIC, EBSCOhost, and many of the other databases, if not all of them, they provide you with a lot of helpful information. So over here, my red circle is covering it up, but it says it's a journal. So that means when you go to the OWL at Purdue, which should be your first stop for anything MLA, you're going to look for the type of source that says academic scholarly journal, because this is saying it's a journal. Remember, a journal is just an academic magazine. And there's some additional information on this page about it. For instance, this is the author. This is the name of the journal, volume number, pages that this information is coming from, when it was published. So all the helpful information you could possibly need for your works cited entry is on here. So hopefully this is helpful. I would say that you should try the Media Center sources first. Don't forget, just because I'm requiring 5, a helpful tip that I learned in college through trial and error, unfortunately, was that if you only find 5 in the research process, which is the first process that you guys are about to follow, sometimes 1 or 2 of those 5 is garbage. So if you find, download, and skim like 7 or 8 resources, you might quickly find that some of those aren't going to work for your argument. Maybe they looked good at first, but they won't work. So try to find more than 5 if you have the time. It's just a good strategy. What ends up happening when we go through this process, and this is probably the same process you'll be following in college, but on your own, then when you get to the writing phase, you're going to have to backtrack because you'll say, oh crap, one of these sources isn't going to help my argument. So as you're writing your essay, you'll have to backtrack and do research again. So I'm trying to save you guys from having to backpedal. Do more research now. You don't have to read all the articles quite yet. Do quick skims. There's nothing wrong with that. And find more than 5. And you might realize that of those, 7 or 8, some of them aren't going to work for you. So that way you're only finding the 5 best. So your first 3 research journals are due this coming Tuesday on Turnitin, and then 4 and 5 are due next Thursday, the 7th, on Turnitin. I did upload the packet that I gave you in class on Tuesday onto Planbook, so use the template that I've given you. You don't have to retype that information. Use the template, plug and chug information. The research journals are just a fancy way of taking notes while you're doing your research. Okay? If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Email me or ask me in class. Thanks.